customer preference is slowly moving towards SUVs, we've seen a huge influx in this space over the last few years. They come in all shapes and sizes now, and most of them focus on their on-road mannerisms rather than off-road prowess. Now, back in 1999, 20 years ago, this wasn't the case. But that's when BMW decided to introduce the X5. Now, BMW made it very clear from the beginning that this was a car that was going to focus more on its on-road performance, on-road dynamics, as it was going to be sporty, rather than, an out-and-out off-roader.
In many ways then, BMW pioneered the whole sports SUV category with the X5, and 20 years later, the company is out with the 4th generation model. It follows the same philosophy as the original and the previous generations, but it has improved by leaps and bounds as an overall package, complete with more space, much more tech, and significant changes in the way it drives. For starters, the new X5 is 36mm longer, 66mm wider, and 19mm taller. The wheelbase has gone up by 42mm as well. The nose displays BMW's latest design direction with an upsized kidney grille flanked by all LED headlamps. Compared the front, the rear looks much more understated with sleek LED tail lamps and dual tail pipes. It rides on mixed tires, so the rear ones are wider. In fact, they're as wide as the Lamborghini Huracan's rear tires. Inside, the general ambience is exactly what you expect from a luxury SUV, costing as much as the X5 does. There is fully digital 12.3-inch instrument console and a similar size centrally mounted touchscreen as well. There is a 4-zone climate control on offer, 16-speaker Harman Kardon audio system, and electrically adjustable seats on offer. The buttons and dials are top-notch in terms of quality and feel, and BMW has upped the luxury quotient with the application of glass on the gear selector, engine start-stop button, and the controller for the infotainment system. Lit up in the dark, the ambient lighting, which extends all the way to the sunroof, does make the cabin feel rather special. However, unlike some of its rivals, there is space for only 5 occupants, and the ones in the rear will be disappointed by the lack of recline function for the rear seats.
As I mentioned earlier, there's a marked difference between the 3rd generation X5 and the current 4th generation, and it shows even when it comes to driving the car. That distinct BMW feel, I'm afraid, is gone, so everything feels more comfortable actually. I mean, I know it's not a bad thing, but yeah, the steering is lighter, the suspension setup is oriented more towards the comfort side, and that's obviously not a bad thing. I mean, it's going to appeal to more people and appeal to those who have previously complained that BMWs have a stiffer suspension setup or a heavy steering, and those people. So it's going to appeal to more people, and that's obviously a good thing for BMW. But BMW fanboys who look for that distinct driving experience might be a little disappointed. This one here is the xDrive 30D variant. It comes with a 3-liter straight-six diesel engine, which makes about 265 bhp and 620 Newton meters of torque. It comes mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission sourced from ZF. We've seen this combination before, and we've all come to like it a lot. I personally like this one a lot. It's got enough ample power, it's got ample torque, and it pulls really well. For the driver, you get multiple driving modes to choose from, including Sport, Comfort, Eco, and there's also Individual, which you can configure to suit your specific needs. As the name suggests, Sport is the sportiest of the lot. It'll actually lower the car because this one gets an air suspension, so it can modulate the ride height. Eco will obviously maximize your fuel efficiency, so if you want to save fuel and increase the efficiency of your car, then yeah, Eco is the way to go. Comfort sort of strikes a balance between the two, and most people, especially those who are going to be spending time in the back seat, will probably want the car to be in comfort mode.
The BMW X5 boasts of a handful of rather cool features. The doors get a soft close function. The fancy BMW display key can also be used to change the ride height aside from the switch placed in the central console. In the boot, the rolling cover can be tucked away at the touch of a button, which comes in very handy, especially when there is a need to fold the rear seats to make room for luggage. Certain features of the infotainment system can be controlled via hand gestures, such as increasing the volume or rejecting or accepting calls.
The X5 has a couple of cool features. We already spoke about a few. There's another one I would like to point out right now. What it basically does is every time you get into maybe a cramped parking space or mostly a parking space, it remembers the last 50 meters or so. So it'll reverse out on its own exactly the same path, which is very handy if if you have a complicated spot or if you've parked moving in and out of vehicles. So I'm just going to park here right now. Okay, we followed a certain path. Press this button, activate reversing assistant from the screen, put it in reverse, and the car will do its thing. I'm not using the steering, I'm not giving any throttle input. The car is going to reverse out on the exact same path it came in. And once you're out, you can always brake at your discretion, put it in drive, and get going. How cool is that?
Priced at 82.4 lakh rupees, ex-showroom for the xDrive 30D X-Line variant, the X5 has gotten more expensive, no doubt. But the incremental price also brings with a whole lot more car in terms of space, enhanced luxury, comfort, and a plethora of features.